Scenario D contemplates a future for Mooresville where growth, development, and town investments are focused where infrastructure already exists. More urban development principles and intensities favored in existing infrastructure service areas are aimed at accommodating future year growth in a much smaller, more efficient development footprint. Increasing capacity in existing service areas, as opposed to extending infrastructure to new service areas, maximizes the efficiency of existing systems, helping control the town's costs for providing future public facilities and services. The concept map, pictured here, depicts preferred development types, locations, patterns, styles, and intensities for the planning area, assuming full build-out of Scenario D. Some areas on the map reflect what currently exists today, some are more aspirational in nature, and others are a mix of what exists today and what could be in the future. Future development in the scenario would be focused primarily in areas identified in dark red or dark orange on the map, using rules, policies, or requirements presented in the new Mooresville Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan, or the Town of Mooresville Unified Development Ordinance. Large-scale or intense development would be discouraged in areas identified as green on the map using other rules, policies, and requirements in the Comprehensive Plan or the Unified Development Ordinance. The three primary growth areas depicted on the map include downtown Mooresville, Langtree, and the Lowe's Corporate Center, and a future innovation and employment center proposed at exit 38 on Interstate 77. In downtown, more housing units in or near the historic core increases the number of customers and the frequency of their visits for local businesses. More information for a new downtown activity center is provided later in the video. Compact and consistent development patterns are favored in the two other primary growth areas, Langtree and the Lowe's Corporate Campus, and the new Innovation Center proposed at Exit 38 transform them both into more urban and walkable, bikeable places with the critical mass of population and employment needed to support premium transit options, including bus rapid transit and commuter rail transit. Taller buildings, especially for the Langtree and Lowe's Corporate Center, would change the skyline of Mooresville and visually set the town apart from similar-sized communities in the region. The scenario currently proposes 6 to 10-story buildings, but they could be increased in the future with public support. For more information for the new regional activity centers and transit activity centers, that information is provided later in the video. And while development primarily occurs in the three primary growth areas, several smaller mixed-use activity centers located throughout the community further transform the area into a more vibrant and more urban, energetic, and walkable environment for town residents and visitors. Focusing development in the activity centers for Scenario D safeguards other portions of the planning area, those outside the growth activity center areas that want conditions to stay the same and primarily rural in the face of mounting development pressures. The primary tools to achieve a more urban vision for Scenario D are infill development and redevelopment. They are both high priorities throughout the community. Reinvesting in previously developed areas or replacing aging development with new development fills in the gaps skipped over the last time development occurred there and maximizes the potential of land in the community. Both efforts will increase the town's efficiency and lower the town's cost to provide infrastructure to its residents. An emphasis on greenways in the scenario directly connects residents with nearby shopping, entertainment, recreation, and employment areas for shorter trips. The scenario emphasizes expanded home choices in and around the proposed activity centers, including, but not limited to, missing middle options like duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, bungalow courtyard cottages, and live-work units. Small-scale apartments or condominiums may be targeted in specific areas when presented as small, single buildings along the street. New home choices are intermixed with single-family detached homes on the same block in new neighborhoods. Accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, on any lot with a single-family detached home are favored in the scenario to increase the type, number, and location of affordable housing options throughout the community. The slides that follow provide more detail on the primary and secondary growth areas discussed earlier in the video. 4 different activity centers are depicted for Scenario D, Downtown, which is DT on the map. The Community Activity Centers, CAC, on the map. The Regional Activity Centers, or RAC, on the map. And Transit Activity Centers, TAC, on the map. Together, they provide an opportunity to reimagine Mooresville's future and introduce new, energized activity areas that provide key locations for new employment centers, retail centers, entertainment areas, and upper story or adjacent residential units in appropriate locations. In the context of redevelopment, these areas require more deliberate planning and phasing to keep them viable over longer periods of change. However, once complete, redeveloped areas have the potential to serve as new and reinvigorated activity centers for the whole of Mooresville. Downtown. This activity center includes land in the historic core of Mooresville that serves as the iconic center of town. Compact development patterns with a mix of land uses, both horizontal and vertical. High-quality architecture, plazas and public spaces, and neighborhoods serving businesses promote social interaction and celebrate the community. Nearby residents provide regular and loyal customers for local businesses and should be connected to them in meaningful ways. Physical connections may include new sidewalk or bicycle connections, or greenways, that strengthen the relationship between origin and destination. Visual connections may include special paving treatments, street lighting, landscaping, or coordinated signage that reinforce a connection between homes and businesses. Social connections may include district names or special events held to present the activity center and nearby neighborhoods as a unified and desirable location. The Community Activity Centers. Community activity centers are focal points in the built environment and offer the opportunity to serve broader economic, entertainment, and housing needs for residents and visitors. Land uses and buildings on small blocks encourage active public spaces between buildings. Public spaces are sized and designed to be gathering places for the mixed-use areas and their surrounding neighborhoods. Homes in and around the center of development may offer several choices to live and experience the mixed-use area, including, but not limited to, missing middle home choices such as single-dwelling homes on small lots, townhouses, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and accessory dwelling units. A larger community activity center may be surrounded by one or more residential neighborhoods, which provide additional nearby home choices and encourage active living with a comprehensive and interconnected network of walkable streets. Regional Activity Centers. The regional activity centers emphasize traditional mixed-use development principles, including a mix of employment or entertainment uses in a discernible center, with small-scale retail uses intermixed in the same buildings or nearby blocks to support employees' or visitors' daily needs. The centers are generally large in size, with convenient access to the transportation system. Larger regional activity centers may be surrounded by one or more neighborhoods that support a variety of home types and lot sizes, including live-work units. Some regional employment activity centers may include residential units above office, retail, or university uses in the same building. Transit activity centers. The transit activity centers in Mooresville, one serving the proposed CATS Red Line commuter train and one serving the proposed CATS Bus Rapid Transit corridor on Interstate 77, include a concentration of mixed-use, dense buildings focused on a premium transit station. The highest density development is located within 1/4 mile of the transit station, with progressively lower densities spreading out into neighborhoods surrounding the center. Multifamily buildings, apartments or condominiums are integrated into the activity center to increase the number of transit riders, more likely pickups and drop-offs near transit service. Growth forecasted for the planning area in Scenario D was allocated to grid cells using a computer software and a list of pipeline projects identified earlier in the presentation. White dots on the map represent the pipeline development inventory for Scenario A. Basically, we cannot ignore projects already approved by the town's Board of Commissioners in any of the alternative scenarios, B through E. Black dots on the map represent either one new dwelling unit or one new square foot of non-residential development allocated to the planning area between 2024 and 2040 under the rules and preferences expressed specifically for Scenario D. The amount of land disturbed by new development, residential and non-residential combined, for Scenario D is 8.5% of the total planning area, which represents an area approximately 18 times larger than downtown Mooresville. The project team for Mooresville Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan calculated the impacts for 10 indicators: new residents, new employees, new students, new police officers, new firefighters, new park acres, new greenways, new water demand, new sewer demand, and new solid waste demand associated with future growth and development patterns depicted on the two maps presented for Scenario D on the previous slide. Information for each of the 10 indicators is presented under 3 conditions: existing conditions, future year conditions for the full planning area, and future year conditions for the town limits only. You can learn more about the different reporting geographies used in the new comprehensive plan: town limits, extraterritorial jurisdiction, areas of influence, and full planning area by reading the introduction chapter on the Existing Conditions tab of our project website, www.mooresville-tomorrow.com. Please visit the same Existing Conditions tab on the project website for our book report series, which presents existing conditions and emerging trends for the full planning area. Separate reports are available for environment, land use, infrastructure, market conditions, and a review of existing town policies and ordinances. The first column of data in the summary poster for Scenario D represents existing conditions observed for each indicator in the full planning area. The second column of data in the summary poster for Scenario D represents future year conditions, 2040, expected for each indicator. In this case, the data is reported for the full planning area. The third column of data in the summary poster for Scenario D also represents future year conditions, 2040, expected for each indicator. However, in this case, the data is reported for town limits only. Governments have certain responsibilities to construct, operate, maintain, and replace community facilities and service or infrastructure to keep pace with existing and future year development patterns. Some infrastructure categories are planned and funded solely by the town of Mooresville, while others are provided by Iredell County, Mooresville Graded School District, the Iredell-Statesville School District, the State of North Carolina, private utility companies, or other partners. In some cases, private developers build certain infrastructure. usually streets, water lines, sewer lines, parks, public spaces, etc., to serve their newly developed neighborhoods, employment centers, shopping centers, etc. And then they dedicate it to the town or Iredell County or the NCDOT when the project is complete. The type, location, and capacity of infrastructure in the community, its service delivery, are critical to the town's ability to grow and develop in accordance with the concept map presented earlier for Scenario D. Service delivery is also critical to managing the cost and timing of needed improvements, which can dramatically impact property owners with increased taxes if expenditures are not well planned and well funded in future year capital and operating budgets. The information presented over the next few slides approximates the demand for new facilities and services generated by the type, location, pattern, mix, and intensity of development envisioned for the planning area. Data is reported for 5 categories: fire protection, police protection, parks and public spaces, sewer service, and water service. This information will be considered again during a detailed cost of services study that will be prepared in the coming months to accompany the new Mooresville Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan. Information generated in the cost of services study for expected revenues, expected expenditures, capital needs, and potential return on investment, or revenues versus expenditures, will allow stakeholders the opportunity to make more informed decisions about their future. 2 new fire stations, Station 7 in the Langtree area and Station 8 near the Exit 38 Activity Center proposed on Interstate 77, would be needed to serve future development and maintain minimum fire suppression and response time standards. Both locations are marked with a white asterisk on the map. Additional staff and equipment would also be needed at the existing stations to serve new development types and intensities. One or both of the new fire stations needed in the community may be incorporated into a larger mixed-use building built by a developer. This photo represents an example of a fire station included in a parking deck for the Meriwether District in Columbia, Maryland. Development reflected towards existing police facilities makes efficient use of existing resources. 2 new police annex buildings, both marked with a red asterisk on the map, are assumed to increase police presence in highly developed areas. Like the fire department, one or both of the annex spaces may be incorporated into a larger mixed-use building built by a developer. 95 new patrol vehicles will also be needed to keep pace with the number of new officers hired to match population growth. The type and number of new parks or public spaces proposed for Scenario D increases significantly to provide viable trade-offs for accepting higher densities and less private open space in more urban residential or mixed-use living environments. The scenario also expands the definition of open space to include plazas, outdoor seating, pocket parks, rooftop terraces, etc. in proposed activity centers to create more open space closer to developed areas. Many of the parks or public spaces proposed in the activity centers would be built by developers as a condition of approval for their projects. See the activity center descriptions presented earlier in the recording. A modest increase in the sewer service area, generally town limits, would be needed, primarily north and west, to serve the intended growth area for Scenario D. However, reflecting development inward toward existing resources reduces the expansion area more than 50% compared to Scenarios B and C. The footprint of the potential service area would be influenced by the distribution of future growth depicted on the growth allocation maps presented earlier. A modest increase in the water service area, generally town limits, would also be needed, primarily north and west, to serve the intended growth area for Scenario D, and again, Reflecting development inward toward existing resources reduces the expansion area more than 50% compared to scenarios B and C. The footprint of the potential service area would be influenced by the distribution of future growth depicted on the growth allocation maps presented earlier. This concludes our brief overview of Scenario D being considered for the Mooresville Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan. Remember to click on the link in our story map to review all 8 presentation boards that were created to summarize key aspects of the scenario in detail. These are the same presentation boards that we displayed at the 4 in-person events held in late August. Please contact David Cole at the Mooresville Planning Department with any questions. Thank you.